Jesus said to his disciples, "I am the true vine, and my Father is the vine grower. He takes away every branch in me that does not bear fruit, and every one that he prunes, he prunes so that it bears more fruit." If we know anything about vines and branches, you know that all the nutrients for the branches comes from the vine. And yet sometimes we would kill the vine just to spite the branches. That we sever ourselves from Christ, who is the source of everything we are. Why would anyone do that? If you look into nature, nature would never end its life just to spite the source. Nature would never want to be separated from the trunk of the tree or from the vine, because that is all the goodness and nutrients and everything that it has. That helps it to bear the fruit. What is it that John says to us? "Children, let us love not in word and speech, but in deed and in truth." It's easy to say stuff, and stuff looks great on paper. But at times when it comes to actually acting out our faith, that's where we run into difficulties. And so we will think of our greatest enemy in this world. It could be that neighbor who's annoying. It could be that boss. It could be even, God forbid, a family member who's really kind of betrayed us or turned against us. Whatever else. And we think because they're doing evil in their life, or because they're not living according to the commandments, or they're not living according to the way that I think they should live, that I have a right not to like them. And I have a right to gossip about them. I have a right to lie about them or treat them terribly. I have a right not to give generously to them or even really pray for them or care about them. And what happens is when we do that, we think, well, it can't possibly hurt my relationship with Jesus because I'm not offending Jesus, or it's not that I hate Jesus or that I'm doubting my faith. I hate this other person. And when we do that, whether we like it or not, we are severing ourselves from Christ. We're severing ourselves from the source of everything. Now, this is how we shall know that we belong to the truth. Those who keep his commandments remain in him, and he in them. Love one another, just as he commanded us to do. Well, I know we would think sometimes, oh, I can love my enemies, but to like them, that's what's tough. We talk about love like it's some kind of sentiment or some type of attitude, okay, yes, I love my enemies, let's move on. But when it comes out to living out that love, that's when it becomes terribly difficult. So I would propose time and again, we will kill the vine just to spite the branches. That everything we do necessarily has an effect on Christ. It must, because he abides in us. I think sometimes a visual is a little more helpful. So let me show you an example of this, and hopefully this will get into your mind what I'm talking about. I'm a visual learner myself. Okay, so now that I have your attention, see, when these guys serve, they don't know what they're getting into. But they do have insurance, they've told me. And I do see a few plastic surgeons out there, so good. So just show it over there and over here so everybody can see. Okay? Now this represents your enemy. This could be your neighbor. It could even be kind of an abstract enemy. If we're thinking of, terrorists or whoever else, we think about that abstract. We don't have people in particular. And so we realize then, when we sin, that we pierce our enemy. And whether we're lying, whether we gossip, whether we steal, whether we commit calumny, which is true stuff, but we still spread it around, and we shouldn't. Whenever we say little prayers or we find delight in the fact that people, our enemies, are not successful, whenever we look at someone as less than we are, whenever we glory in someone else's misfortune. And we refuse to love, refuse to show mercy, refuse to forgive. That's what we do to our enemy. And yet I would propose, what we don't often understand, is we think that we're simply hurting our enemy. That our enemy is the one that is most hurt by these things that we do. And I don't think we realize that the one that we really hurt is him. Isn't it a shame that sometimes we kill the vine just to spite the branch?